You're listening to The Bon Marie Show. It's 8 in the evening. Tune in every night at 8 to listen to The Bon Marie Show on Irish News Radio or ITV.ie. And you can contact anything that you've heard or if anything you'd like to discuss at news@irishnews.net. You're listening to The Bon Marie Show. It's 8 in the evening. Today is Friday, so we're talking about immigration and the destruction of Ireland. So Leo, our anti-Irish government, who doesn't even have a mandate, is stirring up crap again with the British, going on about he doesn't even pretend that Ireland's independent anymore. He calls it the EU. The EU won't have a border there. The EU won't like this. The EU won't stand for this. The EU won't stand for that. Nothing to do with us as people anymore. We're not even a race anymore, according to Leo. We are the EU. And he is some sort of spokesperson for this EU. Like, he used to even call it Europe. It's the EU now. And we all know Europe is a continent. The EU is like a company. Switzerland is not in the EU. You don't have any problems going to France and they have different money. You just cross the border. We have been separated from the Six since 1922. A border went up in 1969 because of the bombing campaign. Leo is very like De Valera, who gave condolence to Germany after Hitler was killed. This is very much an anti-Irish government. Now, we've already had our history with the English and been in a union, and we paid a high price for that. We will pay a huge price, a bigger price, for this disgusting globalisation union. And let's have a look at that in a minute. But we'll talk about this Chinese boy that they're all crying about, that he's Irish and that he shouldn't be kicked out. First of all, we should only be taking people in who have a visa and who have been sponsored. Those parents would have been told on many occasions to fill in the forms and get a sponsor, but because they make more money under the table, they didn't. So that is the reason why they've been thrown out, not because he's Chinese. In fact, a lot of Africans come into this country and they don't even need visas. If they're black, that's their golden card ticket, or Muslims. On the destruction of our culture and our heritage. And that is what this EU anti-Irish government is all about. It's anti-Gaelic, anti-Irish. If we lose our culture, and this is what this government is planning, even their abortion and their disgusting attitude to killing Irish babies. If we lose our culture, we lose our link to our history and to our people and the people that made us and what has made us and where we came from and who we are. Our ancient legacy that has been handed down through centuries of persecution from generation to generation to nurture our precious culture and heritage. It's been beaten out of our children by the anti-white government from the EU and the anti-Irish government. We have lost so much now. To recover is a form of conditioning that they're no longer Irish or that they don't have a culture or heritage. They belong to this EU company. It's been beaten out of them. It's a form of conditioning. And with this, we know from other cultures, like the Aboriginals and the Irish ourselves, from the last time it was beaten out of us, and the indigenous, the Native Americans, it leads to alcoholism. It leads to lots of forms of drug addiction. It leads to suicide. We already know the numbers in Ireland. Once you take that heritage away, there's a number of social problems it comes with. A loss, an alienation of who they are. This is in a living memory of Ireland. This is happening now. But as living and then talked about the survivors who have memories of what it was like, our stories of what the last time the anti-Irish, and it wasn't so long ago, through the bombing campaigns, that so many derogatory terms for the Irish, and how that affect us. Psychologically isolated, being removed from your own culture, your own way of life, your own communities, that are a result of years of persecution and displacement. Broken Irish soul is a very dangerous thing, and we know that from history. Broken any Indigenous group is very sad and very dangerous. We've seen this with Ireland. We see it with the drunks, the drug addiction, the suicide rates in this country, and the depression. You take the very soul, you break their soul, there is nothing left. This EU company, it's not a culture, it's not a heritage, and it doesn't belong to us. This globalisation is it's killing our children because they don't know who they are. And it's up to you as parents to say you are Irish, you belong to this tribe of people, this is who they are. They're proud and great people. And to be told they're great and they come from great. But this globalisation is a broken Irish soul. Removed from your own culture and your own way of life, your own communities, the persecution and displacement, broken Irish soul of the Irish people and our way of life, which reconnecting with our Indigenous language and our culture helps us, heals us, making Irish more positive and progressive. We need to be going back instead of destroying what we have. And this ignorant government that is so useless, it's more than useless, it's dangerous, it's destructive, it's breaking us as a people. And it's time to fight back before we have anything, rather than a broken people again. And it's not so long ago since the last time we were broken. We need the Gaelic education for all the Indigenous Irish. We need to encourage it, but not in the way it was the last time through after independence. We need to be thought as a language from the very beginning, from the Nínra, which is the Irish word for Montessori, to the Gael schools, to the Gael Cloistín, to the primary, to the secondary. We need to teach our music, our dance, everything about who we are, to fix their little souls, to hand it down as it was handed to us. Because an Irish broken soul is a very, very sad thing. Very dangerous, but very, very sad thing. We need them to connect with who they are. And to be and we need a government who will take on a commitment for the Indigenous Irish, and that our way survive on the onslaught of the anti-Irish government and the EU. That we carry on our own language, our own culture and our own traditions to the next generation, and that Ireland is not just swallowed up by the EU, the anti-Irish government and globalisation of multicultural. We as people survive and we hand it down to the next generation. We will be the first generation to so unsuccessfully hand it down. Even after 500 years, the other generations have handed it down more successfully than what we will be doing, because we're told that everything about us is racist, it's wrong. So we can't hand it down without being told we're racist, and the weak will stop handing it down. They're told, you know, even isolated if they speak their own language, that they're not globalist, they're not diverse enough, as if there was something wrong with our culture, our heritage, that we're not diverse enough. Diversity is not our strength. Ireland, our ancient culture, is our strength, not diversity. It was never a part of us and shouldn't be a part of us. That leads to our broken soul. That'll lead to alcoholism. It'll lead to drug addiction, antisocial behaviour, and it'll lead to suicide. That is a destruction of who we are. This so-called diversity is not Ireland's strength. It is Ireland's enemy. We need our children to know who they are and not unbroken Irish soul. Thank you again for listening on the Friday on the Bonry Show, itv.ie and Irish News Radio. If you have any questions, write in, ring in if you want any just things to be talked about too. But remember, it's us that can change this. Stop looking around for somebody to save you. You are somebody, and we come from this fantastic, strong culture of 700 years of being told we're not good. We're not good enough. And now we're in the same situation again because we're not diverse. We're not global enough. We need to be part of this something else. We need to stop. We need to be telling our generation, you are perfect. You don't need to be diverse. You're diverse enough. You are Gaelic. This is who you are. This is your culture. This is your language. This is your people. This is who you are. This is where they'll get strength from. This is where they get their confidence from. And if we need to do homeschooling, we need to set that up, then that's where we need to start. But this broken Irish soul is a destruction of our ways. Thank you again for listening on the Bonry Show. It's Friday. Have a good weekend. I will talk to you tomorrow. Thank you. I have a bit of a problem. There was a conversation about the Chinese boy who's trying to stay in the country. One, he's not Irish. Just quickly, he's not Irish and should not want to be Irish and should not be told he's Irish. And 80% of the population said no to the anchorage of babies. Now, I have no problem with actually Chinese, but everybody in this country who comes in here illegally should be encouraged to come in here legally. And there's an awful lot of countries. Now, in fact, he should be probably more like, she should be more accepted in than a lot of them. There's a lot of Africans, black Africans. Now, white Africans have a problem coming in, but black Africans, so they seem to be very selective on who they actually choose to allow to stay. Black Africans don't even need a visa to come in here, and they're not encouraged to work, they're not encouraged to do anything, and they can stay here. Now, a lot of them and Africa's not in war, and they are allowed to stay here. If you're white, you're not. They are being discriminated against because they are white. Now, this poor Chinese boy, now everybody should actually follow the rules, but you should all be encouraged. If you come in here, it should be on a visa system, it should be on a point system, it should be legally that, you know, and the parents should be encouraged, look, this is the way you go back and you fill out these forms and come in here illegally, because any more than if I went and I had a child in America and then I've turned around to the Americans, it's very unfair, I have to go back. I knew perfectly well what I was doing when I went there and had the child there. Or that I go to Saudi Arabia and have my child there and say, this child is an Arab because he's born here. Like, you have to be realistic. The child is Chinese but shouldn't want to be Irish. And people shouldn't be calling him. His heritage is Chinese. Now, he's born here. This is the country he's born in. Absolutely. But that is not his ethnicity. Well, nor should he want to be. He should be proud of who he is and be proud, look, this is Chinese, I can bring lots of stuff, but come in the right way and be shown, like the Irish authorities should be saying, look, to the parents, if you bring, you know, if you want the child to come back, obviously that's not a problem, come back in, but come in the right way. Come get sponsored in by a company of whatever you do as a job or whatever. Come in the right way.
you can't, I don't know the circumstances why the parents aren't allowed, but obviously they're not working for a company because obviously a company would sponsor them and they would fill out the form. So obviously they're not doing that, or they're working under the radar. I don't know, whatever, but they don't have a sponsor for whatever reason. So that's what they should be encouraged, but not to be keep telling non-Irish are Irish because they've been born here or they're breathing in the air. Nor should they want to be Irish. I'm sick of that. Like, I've a lot of my friends who are African, who are black Africans, and they say their children are like, and it's wrong that people should confuse it. Like, if they're half, they are half, and they should be equal rights to both and happy about both. If they're purely African, the parents are purely African, their culture is purely African, then that is okay, of whatever, Botswana, whatever country it is. But it's like, stop seeing Africa as well. I'm just saying it there because I'm also trained to see Africa as a country. It is not a country, it's a continent, so they're very much like Europe. They're very different. Not that these African countries don't even like each other. They don't speak the same language, they don't have the same tribes, and they don't have the same culture. They're very, very different. So that's my whole complaint, is that he's not Irish, number one. He's Chinese, and there's nothing wrong with being Chinese, and there is nothing wrong with that, and he should be proud of that. Number point is to be encouraged to come in the right way. These anchor babies are a bad idea for everybody, but it should be right across. Nobody should be coming in here unless you have a sponsor, unless you're qualified, unless there shouldn't be a prejudice that white South Africans can't come in, and they do need refuge because of the amount of farm murders, and they're not allowed to come in, but we'll allow black Africans in from South Africa, and they don't even need a visa. That is prejudice in itself. It should be one rule for everybody, and everybody follows that rule, but not making everybody feel that they have to be, once they're born here, they have to actually change their ethnicity and say they're Irish because they're breathing in air. That's also wrong. They should be happy and proud of whoever they are. Two ridiculous things. One, he's Chinese, and there's nothing wrong with that. B, he's obviously they have to be told they're leaving because they don't have sponsors, or they don't have whatever, they don't have the legal forms. But all they have to do is fill in, any more than an Irish person in America, and there was many of them, who didn't fill in forms. One of my friends, and actually the American authorities went to them and said to them, you haven't filled in your forms, fill in the form. And they didn't bother because they were making more money under the table working in bars. And then they eventually were kicked out, which was their own fault. They were told. And they perfectly admit they now regret not filling in the forms. But that's all it is. Fill in the forms, get yourself a sponsor.
You are listening to Irish News Radio at irishnews.net. Email news@irishnews.net.